What's up, YouTube? The Real Mud Dog here, back again with another video on my 2017 Yamaha FZ-10, and I'm making this video because people online are driving me absolutely nuts with this Yamaha throttle modes, D modes, whatever you want to call it. I call it a throttle mode because you don't drive a bike, you ride a bike, okay? So there's people online that do all these review videos and these test rides. They hop on the bike and, oh, look what my dealer has for me today. And they get on the bike and they tell you all the wrong information. Okay? Yamaha threw us a corkscrew, and the throttle modes on this, standard A and B, are not the same as the FZ-10, and I don't even know if the R1 is different from this. So this is particularly for this bike, 2017 FZ-10. And I just can't stand anymore watching these people online just making shit up about these throttle modes, how they work and what they do. Okay? So, what do we know? The simple shit. Let's get right into it. 3 modes. Standard, A, and B. Okay? We all know that. What do they do? How do they work? Let me start out by saying this. All the throttle modes still access 100% of the engine's power. Okay? The throttle modes do not cut horsepower. Has nothing to do with limiting horsepower in this bike. Or mostly any other bike. Alright? You still get in that 160 horse in each mode. What the throttle modes do is they alter the fuel map and your throttle position sensor. Okay? How far you have to twist the throttle at a desired point on the sensor, okay, in the TPS sensor. Okay, obviously when the throttle's closed, it's at 0% throttle. When the throttle's 100% open, it's at 100% throttle. Okay? In standard mode, that might be the case. Okay, 0, 50, 100% in standard mode. So that makes you twist this throttle all the way back to get 100% power. Alright, now, when you go to A and B modes, the throttle map changes and the TPS sensor changes the positioning of the throttle. So in A mode, we know A is the next step up to being more sensitive, quote unquote, than standard mode. Okay, so this throttle is going to have to travel less distance to hit 100% power. Okay, it changes the fuel maps completely. So maybe, halfway throttle won't be 50%, it'll be 65% throttle. Okay, and you might only have to turn it 3/4 throttle to get 100% throttle, instead of having to go all the way, like in standard mode. B mode is even more sensitive than that. At 50% throttle, you might be at 85% throttle. Okay? All it does is change the fuel maps and the throttle positioning. That's why the B mode is way more sensitive than standard mode. And I've seen about 20, 30 videos on people talking about the throttle modes in this bike in particular. And I was laughing so hard to myself last night when I watched a video of a guy get on this bike. And he's like, oh, well, I'm just going to start in B mode because, it's the lowest setting, it goes to B, standard, and then A. So I said, all right, I watched it. He's like, oh yeah, power feels pretty good in B, Oh, let's switch to standard, which is the lowest, the lowest sensitivity of throttle on this. And he goes, oh wow, oh this is crazy. Whoa, this thing's taken off, has so much more power now. Yada yada yada. And I'm sitting there cracking up to myself. Like, these people have no clue. And it just makes them, okay, you're straight up a phony. Okay, I have this bike, I've ridden it for 500 miles, and there is a night and day difference between standard mode and B mode. Night and day, completely. I live in northern New Jersey. A lot of tight, twisty corners. First, second gear. A lot of bumps because the roads are shit here in New Jersey. If you're in B mode, doing tight, technical twisties in first or second gear, I've been riding a bike for a long time. This is the snatchiest throttle, especially in B mode, that I've ever ridden. Okay? if you're going through these tight technical turns in first and second gear in B mode, you're literally going to be, unless you have the lightest throttle hand and you breathe on that throttle, okay, awesome control, you're going to be jolting through the corner because it's that snatchy. Because the roads literally are bumpy enough to make that throttle move that little tiny bit that it's going to affect you through the corner. And that's why I ride standard mode or A mode. If the corners are a little bit fast sweepers, I'll go into A. But mostly around my town and around this area, I ride standard mode because the throttle's just too snatchy for the tight technical corners. So don't let these guys online fool you that, you know, oh yeah, standard mode, way snappier, way this, way that. And you know, he's like, and then he goes into A mode and he's like, oh my god, oh, this is insane. This is insane. Meanwhile, that's the middle setting, and what he started out on, B mode, was the snatchiest setting on this bike. And it's crazy sensitive. So I've been watching these videos that drive me nuts. This video hopefully will clarify the difference between the D modes, the throttle modes, whatever you want to call them, on the bike, and you know, we'll give you a little bit more insight to it, so you don't buy an FZ-10 and go, oh, I'm just gonna hop on B mode and think you're in the lowest setting, and then switch to the other modes, and you're like, okay. So, you know, watch this video about the throttle modes just so it clears it up. If any of these guys had half a brain in their shoulder, they just look in the manual and read that, oh, standard's the least sensitive mode. It's the most relaxed mode. A is the next step up, is like the middle, and B is full on snatchy, or really sensitive, or quarter throttle or half throttle, 100% throttle. You know, you're only turning this much, maybe 50%, but you're at 100% throttle to the computer. All right, so it changes fuel modes. And it changes the TPS and the throttle sensor in here, okay? And it does not change horsepower. It does not cut horsepower. It does not cut torque. It all just matters what you're doing over here, okay? No difference in power, just how it delivers on the fuel maps and how much you're turning the throttle, all right? So hopefully that clears up this whole situation with these throttle modes that is driving me insane online, all right? So until next time, keep the shiny side up.